Good day everyone, my name is Valerie Chiratuta from BA Ed 2D, and today we are tackle about negative hermeneutics and the conflict interpretation. Before we proceed to our topic, we need to understand about hermeneutics. So what is hermeneutics? Hermeneutics is the branch of knowledge that deals with interpretation, especially of the Bible or literary text. Hermeneutics is more than interpreted principle or method used when immediate comprehension fails and includes the arts of understanding and communication. In the earlier section on hermeneutics, the main area of debate was between the tradition of Schleiermacher and Dilthey, in which the hermeneutics enterprise was to enable texts written in the past to be understood in their own terms by a later age, and the Heidegger influence method of H.T. Gadamer, in which the interests of the present day interpreter and the text as the product of the past are kept in balance. So now we are going to discuss about the conflict interpretation by Paul Ricouer. Who is Jean-Paul Ricouer? Jean-Paul Gustave Ricouer was a French philosopher best known for combining phenomenological description with hermeneutics. And also, Paul Ricouer, primarily a philosopher in the phenomenological tradition, but also an influence on literary critics and theorists, argues for hermeneutics as reduction of the illusion and lies of consciousness. So, in this, there is no general hermeneutics, no universal canon for exegesis, but only disparate and opposed theories concerning the rules of the interpretation. One of the basic rules of interpretation is the statute of grammatical interpretation. It is also known as literal, of primary or natural or popular interpretation. The rule of grammatical interpretation is considered to be the first principle of interpretation. According to this rule, the court should acknowledge the words in the provision of a statute. If they are clear and ambiguous, an effect should be given, whatever may be the consequence. According to the one pole, hermeneutics is understood as the manifestation and restoration of a meaning addressed in the manner of a message, a proclamation, or as sometimes said, a kerygma. Kerygma is a Greek word used in the New Testament for proclamation. According to the other pole, it is understood as demystification, as a reduction of illusion. And according to psychoanalysis, at least on the first reading, aligns itself with the second understanding of hermeneutics. Hermeneutics seems to be animated by this double motivation. First, willingness to suspect and willingness to listen. Second is vow of rigor and vow of obedience. In our time, we have not finished doing away with idols, and we have barely begun to listen to symbol. It may be that this situation, in its apparent distress, is instructive. It may be that extreme iconoclasm belongs to the restoration of a meaning. Over against interpretation. As restoration of meaning, we shall oppose interpretation according to what I collectively call a school of suspicion. So, a school of suspicion is a phrase coined by Paul in Pride and Philosophy to capture a common spirit that pervades the writing of Marx, Freud, and Nietzsche, the three masters of suspicion. This school is defined as balanced recognition and perception between explanation and understanding that validates expression and representation. Our three masters, seemingly mutually exclusive, dominated the school of suspicion. That is Marx, Nietzsche, and Freud. So, who is Marx? Karl Marx in full. Karl Marx, Heinrich Marx, revolutionary, sociologist, historian, and economist. He also was the author of the movement's most important book, Das Kapital. And Karl Marx, at least 18 books he wrote, and one of those is Das Kapital. These writing and others by Marx ranges from the basis of the body of thought and belief known as Marxism. Next is Friedrich Nietzsche. He is German philosopher, essayist, and cultural critic. His writings on truth, morality, language, aesthetics, cultural theory, history, nihilism, power, consciousness, and the meaning of existence have exerted an enormous influence on Western philosophy and intellectual history. Friedrich is one of the most influential of all modern thinkers. He taught through the consequence of the triumph of the Enlightenment secularism, expressed of his observation that God is dead, in a way that determined the agenda for many of the Europe's most celebrated intellectuals after his death. He is born on October 15, 1844, and died at August 25 at the age of 55. Next is Sigmund Freud. Freud may justly be called the most influential intellectual legislator of his age. His creation of psychoanalysis was at once a theory of the human psyche, a therapy for relief of its ills, and an optic for the interpretation of culture and society. Sigmund Freud is Austrian neurologist, and he is the founder of psychoanalysis. Despite of repeated criticism, attempted refutation, and qualification of Freud's work, its spells remained powerful well after his death. And also it is no small measure due to the power of Freud's vision and the seeming inaccessibility of the intellectual legacy left behind. Next is, these three masters of suspicion are not be misunderstood. However, as three masters of skepticism, they are assuredly the great destroyer. Beginning with them, understanding is hermeneutics. You don't need to spell out our consciousness but to understand the expression, because hermeneutics is what? It deals with interpretation, expression that Bible or literary text, and it includes art of understanding and communication. Next is what all three attempted in different ways was to make their conscious method of deciphering coincide with the unconscious work of separating, which they attributed to the will of power, to social being, and to social unconscious psychism. Thus, disgusting characteristic of Marx, Freud, and Nietzsche is the general hypothesis concerning both of the process of false consciousness and the method of disappearing. Next is Freud entered the problem of false consciousness by a double road of dreams and neurotic symptoms. His working hypothesis has the same limit as his angle of attack, which was an economics of instincts. Next is Marx. Marx attacked the problem of ideologies from within the limits of economic alienation, now in the sense of political economy. Nietzsche, focusing on the problem of value, of evaluation and transvaluation, looked for the key of lying and masked on the side of the purse and weakness of the will of power. Fundamentally, the genealogy of morals in Nietzsche's sense, the theory of ideologies in the Marxist sense, and the theory of ideals and illusion of Freud's sense represent the three convergent procedure of demystification. Next is what are the wants or desire of three in consciousness? First is Marx. Marx wants to liberate praxis by the understanding of necessity. Next is Nietzsche. Nietzsche wants is the increase of man's power and restoration of his purse. And lastly, Freud desires is the one who is analyzed by making his own the meaning that was foreign to him, enlarge his field of consciousness, live better, and finally be a little freer, and if possible, a little happier. So, this last reference to Freud's reality principle into its equivalent in Nietzsche and Marx, eternal return in the former, understood necessity in the latter, brings out the positive benefit of the accesses required by reductive and destructive interpretation. While finding this positive convergence, our three master of suspicion also present the most radically contrary stance to the phenomenology of the sacred and to any hermeneutics understood as the recollection of meaning and as the reminiscence of being. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you learn more about this topic and it helps you a lot. Thank you and keep safe everyone.